right, Shalom. This is some quick words of exhortation and edification for Akim out here dealing with pretty much being on the come up, man. Things you realizing and seeing in the spirit, you know, but yet the carnal was conflicting with that. So as I said, as you know, you realizing these things, like as you realizing these things in the spirit, you know, ultimately the Lord is giving you increase. Pretty much you got the carnal things outward conflicting with that, you know, and pretty much hindering you from receiving what's actually going on, how you should be, you know, receiving it. And that's the fact that you are being increased, and it's obviously for a bigger purpose. You know, the Lord, he will have you know pretty much, I mean, just to say the least, he builds up people. All right. So I says he's nigh unto them that are of a broken heart and a contrite spirit. All right. The scriptures tell you how whosoever exalted himself shall be debased, but whosoever shall be debased shall be exalted. So once again, showing what, you know, how the Lord moves. So so it ain't nothing to trip over, you know, when you supposedly understanding and wanting the Lord, that the Lord is dealing with you, you know, on the right hand side for the greater good, and you ultimately wanting that, you know. I just lost my train of thought, but yeah, pretty much, man, that's what we pretty much gonna be dealing with, you know. A lot of you can't be letting, you know, things of carnal means, you know, or not having carnal means stop you from receiving things how you're supposed to be receiving, you know, which ultimately leads you to rejecting these things. This is why, you know, a lot of our people, they don't see the you know, the truth through. They don't live out that perfect story like Yahweh Shah, you know, who is the author and finisher of our faith. He showed us how, you know, one is to start, you know, and finish. He showed us how one is to start, you know, and, you know, the particular way one is to start in order to finish a particular way, you know, and he started it, you know, at the bottom ultimately to end up on top, you know. So we're gonna pretty much be going into that. All right, the Lord, he's building individuals, man, and all things great, you know, the same way, that are of a particular measure. Ultimately, the scriptures, man, if I want to grab something real quick, we're gonna go to Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 5. It says, for there is no king that had any other beginning of birth, for all men have one entrance into life, and the like going out. Now this is actually meaning, like, this is you know, the actual sense of this is carnally talking about how kings are actually born the same way a regular person is born. But the spiritual sense to this is pretty much what they had to come into, you know, before they became king. You know, a certain way they had to, a certain course they had to, you know, enter and start. All kings, they went through the same one, you know. At least one that's gonna be a true king of endurance. You know, you gotta have things given to you in order for you to or put around you or sent to you to deal with in order for you to become one that can endure. That's why the Lord says, in your patience possess ye your souls. All right. Endure all things for the elect's sake. The same that shall endure shall be saved. And then the last scripture that tells y'all, get it, James 1:2. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this. I'm gonna read that in NLT too. Right. In the NLT, James 1:2, dear brothers and sisters, when trouble comes your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Exactly, because that's a way being created to where you can be saved. Because once again, who's going to be saved? Those that endure. But when you go into that word endure, when you go to Matthew 24:13, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. In the NLT, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. So you have to be given something to where you can do that, to where you can endure, and that's why you count it all joy. And those things you're gonna have to endure is obviously gonna be troubles, but when they come your way, you count it all joy, because that basically just means you've been given the criteria, you've been put in a situation. It's like building a resume. And when you build your resume, certain things on your resume, which is basically a timeline of stuff, points in your life, which are going to be used to actually help you get to another point in your life, a better point in your life. That's how it works. So that's why you count it all joy when these things come your way, because now you got a new thing you can add to your resume. Hence, you basically fit the criteria to be saved. But anyway, when you go into the word endure, keep it simple. It says, have fortitude, when you read it in the Greek.
Strong's G 5278. Hupamano.
Right? To remain. You put in a situation basically where remaining is what you're dealing with. You put in a situation of remaining or not. But you still counted it all joy, because this is what you actually being sent your way, having sent your way. This is what you're actually dealing with. But to keep it to the point, to preserve, it says to remain, example, abide, not recede or flee, to preserve or persevere, under misfortunes and trials, to hold fast to one's faith in Hamashiach, to endure, bear bravely and calmly ill treatments. All right, and ultimately, when you get into it on a further level, when you enduring, it's telling you that you're being made hard. All right, so basically, you being built up. All right, the Lord is molding you. As He says, we're clay in His hands. He's molding you to ultimately become hard. All right, so now you have substance of endurance. Durable, of durability. You have substance of durability. All right, so that's why, once again, you go back to James 1:2 in NLT, faith and endurance. That's what it's headed as. So that's exactly what that's talking about. All right, those diverse temptations. All right, moments where you can become hard. All right, you can add, use this situation sent your way to actually be stronger, become stronger. That's what it's sent your way to deal with it. But only the just gonna move like that. The wicked, they're gonna fall into mischief and not get up. Anyway, we move on to NLT. It says, dear brothers and sisters, when trouble comes your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Which leads me back to the point. It says, continue, for you know that when your faith, right, because it's been taught to you, is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So you become more and more built, You becoming a person of durability. Kings have to endure. So a king has to be put through a process. They deal with enduring. You know, they have to have the mindset to endure. For the city to endure, for the people to endure. All right, for the legacy to endure. So they have to be. It could be born like that, but they still have to. They're going to be given things in their life to manifest. That's who they are. So that can manifest. You know. Then they come into being. You know. The final point everybody just wants to hop to. You know. But reading on, it says, so let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. All right? So you can't skip the process. So going back here, Wisdom of Solomon 7. All right? And 5. For there is no king that had any. I'm gonna just start at 1. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all. This is the wisest man ever lived, the richest man ever lived, etc. Right? He said, I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth. Of Adam come we all, including him. You know. But anyway, it says, and in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months. Being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. And when I was born, I drew in the common air, and fell upon the earth. He like, I ran around like everybody else, played, fell, bumped my head. But anyway, hit my head, bumped my head, etc. Right? Anyway, it says, which is of like nature, and the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. Right, everybody can relate to all that. But anyway, I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. For there is no king that hath any other beginning of birth. All right. For all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out. So that's why I say on the initial level is talking carnally, but the spiritual meaning here is, you know, in order for all kings, all people of the same thing, they have to come into they have to, you know, walk that same course. You know, you want to enter into life, you're gonna have to, you know, all people of different measures that want to enter into life, they're gonna all have to deal with the same things, because everybody's not kings, everybody not, you know, prophets, teachers, or whatever. You know what I'm saying, the top or whatever, but it's different offices of all different Israelite brothers and sisters that can enter into life. And mainly talking to you Akim, first off, you know. So you have to understand that kings, it's a beginning they have to walk. You know, these people that hit a high point or whatever field you in. You know, because everybody don't even have the same desires. You know, some people don't want to rule. They just want to rather be the, you know, or whatever lot they're in. They know there's different lots, and there's a top to each lot. So all of these people in these different lots, they have the same way to get there. They're gonna be put through the same thing to get, and that's what they have to deal with. You know, so like I said, you can't mistake that as being simply like, man, you know, an instance where you can let it be to you like carnal means is something that can stop me from actually receiving what's going on, you know, which is the Lord actually build me up to be able to get to that final point, and I have to go through these steps and stay at that final point and endure. You know, you will let not having, then you gonna let not having certain things or money have you miss the point. Certain carnal means you're not recognizing what's going on. You tripping. All right. So when you go to my last point, let me see. I want to start with this one or this one. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with this one. This is let's go with this one. This is Ecclesiastes 4:13. It says, "Better is a poor and a wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished." You know, because most men as kings, they don't stick it out. Men that get, I mean, the ratio of men getting power, people getting power, is most that get it blow it. You know, they all go out bad. So why are you so quick to, you know, even if, you know, you're after whatever the top is for you. You know what I'm saying? Why are you so after the end point where most blow it at? You know? It don't make sense. And then you're not even recognizing the Lord, he's putting you on that path to get there. But the fact that you have to get there the same way all got there. You know? All that are to be considered. Because you wouldn't be considering nobody that blew it. So all those that got there and was good at it, they had to go through the same thing. Test to be to where they could be good when they got there. And be seen as that when it was in that finally in their lot. You know? You can receive what I'm saying. So once again, better is a poor and a wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished. All right, in the NLT, it says, "It is better to be a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice." All right, dudes want to miss messages and things in their life and not, you know, but they just want this end thing that's been put in their head, you know, just to end up being another old foolish king, you know, that's gonna blow it. Nobody can tell anything anymore, because his whole process of getting there was the same way of a particular individual that I'm explaining now. Not saying nobody specific. I'm saying like someone that's like that. You have a desire to get to this end goal, and, you know, but they missed everything they needed to and didn't deal with everything they needed to on the way there, to where when they got there, they would be good and able to endure it, you know, sustain it, you know. So once again, it's better to be a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. So you can't let the fact that, oh man, I see this for myself, or blah blah blah, I know I can do this, but I don't have this, you know, distract you from the point, or have you miss the point that the Lord he's molding you to be able to get it and keep it. You know, he has you walking a course that if you deal with correctly, you're gonna get these things you're missing, but not only get them, be able to sustain them, deal with them correctly. I already said sustain, but to keep them. You know what I'm saying? That's the point. I ain't tripping because you ain't got no money or some carnal stuff. You know, while you in your process. You know, something that you should have, something you know you gonna have, or you should have, or you want to have, or you supposed to have based off what you after, based off what you're amongst. You know, you can't have not having that because you're in the process of that. Have you missed the fact that you're in the process of that? You know, so you can have it and keep it. All right. So the Lord's teaching you wisdom. So you can't be tripping on the fact when you're in the process, when you in your youth or whatever, that you're missing carnal means, you're poor or whatever. It's better to be a wise and poor youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. it says, back in the KJV, it says, for, I'm going to read it, start at 13 again. Better is a poor and wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished. For out of prison he cometh to reign. Whereas also he that is born in his kingdom becometh poor. So it ain't nothing to come up, and it ain't nothing, you know, if you have what you need, which is that wisdom, and it ain't nothing to fall down if you don't have what you need, you know, being in the position, which is wisdom, you know. In the NLT it says such a youth, right, that same poor but wise youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king, though he has been in prison, you know. So that's the point. So that's what it's about. It says, but then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. So why you so, you know, in a rush to burn out instead of, you know, get through the process, dealing with the process to where you can, you know, sustain and maintain, you know, and have a legacy. All of the top of whatever field, they went through the same process to get there and be considered the top. You know, start with like a king, King David. You know what I'm saying? He started with nothing, man. And look how he ended up. You know, he was put through, before he could get to that end, he had to go through things, deal with things, you know, because he was already destined for it based off how he was. So I always talked about how well he moved and stuff like that, but he was given occasions to where he had to move even wiser. And so he was given more reasons to actually stay correct. Lord was giving him reinforcement. And that's why he was perfect to be put as king, because as what manner the ruler of the city is, such are all the people. So people will have a good example to follow. You know what I'm saying? They would be after a heart like that, a mind like that, you know? So that's basically the point. He ain't letting none of that stop him. He did what he had to do, and he lived out the process. And he didn't let him missing carnal means stop him from receiving the fact that the Lord actually has him on course to become a good king, you know, which is who at the end of the day is gonna have all these carnal things, you know, but be able to sustain them. All right, so that's the point. So it says endless crowds stand around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. In the KJV verse 15, I consider all the living which are walked under the sun, with the second child that shall stand up in his stead. All right, so that's basically the point. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out. This is Ecclesiastes 1:18. It says this is a good example. This is verse 16 I'll start at. It says, I commune with my heart. I commune with my own heart, saying, lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they, meaning the other kings, the other people in his lot that have been before me in Jerusalem. Because you can use this lesson for, even though if you in a different lot, you got a different pursuit, but you of Israel trying to be saved, enter into life. This is going to be through a particular lot. But anyway, it says, my heart. So you got to look at the people that are in your lot. Like for women out there, you want to be looking at, I mean, you can look at other people because a bunch of correlations can be drawn. You know, a lot of stuff is had in common. You know, like for instance, we all got to keep the Lord first. You know, his understanding, no matter we in different lots. So we all got that in common. But a sister look at like women. I want to be this particular type of woman, this in woman, or I'm this of these women, or I'm this brother. So I need to look to the men that's around this man, this type of men, or et cetera, and look at their process, man. You know, but anyway, it says, that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yeah, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. So in order to truly have wisdom, you had to have experience, which is reasons for why you make certain moves and don't make certain moves. You know the reason. You got the proof, which is the experience. But it says, I said to myself, look, I am wiser than any of the kings who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. All right. Let's see. So I set out to learn everything from wisdom to madness and folly. But I learned firsthand that pursuing all this is like chasing the wind. All right. He says, the greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and close on my point. This is in the 18th verse in the KJV. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. So that's the proof that the Lord is putting you through a process. And, you know, though you don't have carnal means, he's giving you something to be able to get the carnal means. And you can't let the fact that you don't have the carnal means or whatever it is distort you from seeing the fact that you are actually being given the thing to get those carnal means. You know, that's why Solomon prayed for wisdom. He didn't pray for riches. He didn't pray for none of that. Because Solomon also said through riches, through wisdom, he got all these things. All these things came to him through wisdom. So that's why the Lord says, since you prayed for this and you ain't prayed for riches, I'm going to make you more wise than any king and more wiser than any and more richer than any. Because most don't think like that. And since most don't think like that, how would you be the richest? You wouldn't. Because you don't have the thing to where you would, which is wisdom. And you don't even understand that. So that by default, that put Solomon on path to be of the top, you know. But due to how he came up, he ultimately went out bad. King David didn't go out bad. He had his slip-ups, but he didn't go out bad. And that was due to him actually having to grind. And his son was able to just come into what he did. And Solomon had to learn the hard way, you know. And so there's so much you can say, but the point is, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases sorrow and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. So that's the process. They say no pain, no gain, man. So that's basically the point, Lord, when you've been edified, you know. That's how it go, bro. All right. So don't sweat it. It's easier said than done, but hey, once you given the proof to know you at least you on course, hey, that's what you make it about. Now you just get those things you need along that course to end up with what is trying to distort you from seeing that you're on that course. You know, so that's it. Call them like, how about you?